Hello again, I am Jim Bob. Welcome back to Big Bud Farm. We have a very overcast morning here. We have some work to do. We have crops to fertilise and we have a new storage area to complete for our sugar beets. And as you can see, we have some new gear on the farm as well. So I've done a little bit of contract work. I've cleared our loan debt down to zero again, and I've also got about 100 grand left over. And what I've done is I've bought the Oshkosh pack trailer here, the low loader trailer, because this is nice, good sized trailer. It works well with any truck, so you can see I'm using it with our 950 Legend here, and it's wide enough for a combine, so it's going to be wide enough for something like Big Bud as well. Help me move some of the larger, slower equipment around the farm a lot quicker. And we have this is just on lease at the moment, the FIATAGRI 160/55, and I actually really like this. I've leased this for a plough job, but I absolutely love this little thing. It doesn't look all that much at first glance, but the more you actually pay attention to it, the more it really kind of sings to you. I love these metal tracks. I think these are absolutely brilliant. And amongst the other little features of this, if we get inside, I love the cockpit. You can see we actually have pedals here, we have steering, and the pedals themselves, as you can see, are actually movable pedals. Which is a really nice little touch. We also have some pretty nice detail in here for what is essentially quite an old school tractor. It's got a nice unique engine sound all of its own, as you can hear. You can also hear the clattering of those metal tracks, which is another really great little feature. And the dashboard as well, you can see obviously we have a red light switch on whenever the engine switch on. And then when we put our lights on, you can see we have standard lighting, and then we have full beam lighting, and both of those light up on the dash as well. And then there's the ability to do this. How cool is this? You can lean out of the side of the vehicle while it's moving. I absolutely love that. That's such a cool little feature. So we're going to be using this for ploughing. So I just need to come in here and pick up the plough. This also turns on a dime. This thing is so responsive in turning. It kind of puts the little tracked Massey that we have on our farm, the little 200 series, to shame in terms of how sharply this thing can turn. This has got a much more responsive turning arc, and I think it even turns a little bit tighter as well. As I say, we're going to be using this to plough up the ground, and that's because we need our voucher for weeding. Let's just see, are we... Are we on the width? I love the ability to be able to just hang out the side like that. That's such a cool little thing. It does make repositioning the camera afterwards a little bit tricky to get it sort of centered, but yeah, I love this little tractor. It's so cool. So there we go. We've got our tractor with our plough on. It has 160 horsepower, so it's slightly underpowered for the plough that we're using because that needs 200, but it's not massively underpowered, so we can kind of get away with it. Before we actually take that down, let's get our voucher up and running and start weeding some of those fields for us. A lot of weeding work that needs to get done. So let's grab our weeder. There we go. Gonna need to put some fuel in this thing as well because it's running a little bit thirsty. And we're also going to need to switch the tyres over to narrow tyres to avoid damaging our crops. And you may remember as well when we were planting the sugar beets, I was a little worried that I might have actually destroyed some of the planting as it was going in. I haven't. I've checked. We have got stage 1 growth now appearing, and everything seems to be growing normally. So it looks like we kind of got away with that a little bit. But you can still see the track marks on the ground from where we were driving over the top of that sort of newly planted seed. So we'll pop over to our shed. Just going to nose this thing in a little bit. I don't want to go too far in because I don't want it to pick up the the weeder. But there we go. Let's switch to narrow tyres. There we go. We'll have to reconnect. There we go. Engine on. And we should have a need to actually weed field 1. I think there should be some growth on field 1 now as well. Yes, there is. So because field 1 is going to take a long time, we're going to go and get this guy started off on field 1 straight away. So once he's there and up and running, we'll then take our truck down with our FIATAGRI to our little field opposite the small farm sell point, and that's where we're going to create our beet area. So here we are then, arrived at our little location here. I'm just going to park the truck up here out the way. And if you thought moving a big bud along this farm was slow at 19 miles an hour, this thing can only go 9. So very slow. Definitely needs that kind of extra speed. But we need to rip up most of this field here. We're using this simply for the kind of precision that it allows us, especially working in those close quarters along the far wall. Let's get some lights on. The only real downside I think to this is that there is no beacon. I would like to have seen a beacon on this particular tractor, but we don't have one, so it's not the end of the world, but I think it would have been nice if we could have had one. It can come with or without the cab. The cab, I think, costs an extra 5,000, I think, on the price. So it goes from 35 to, you know, a little bit more. I think it's something like that, 30 to 35 or 35 to 40. But it's a really nice little tractor. I absolutely love it. I love that clacking noise of the metal tracks as well. That's such a nice little feature. And that should be far enough. I don't think we'll need to go any further than that. So just for now, we're just going to kind of work a kind of path that runs along this way like this. And then from there we're going to start branching out sideways with areas going over there. Then obviously we'll get everything cultivated, and where we need to, we'll maybe put a little bit of grass back in, or just use the roller to take a little bit of the pathway out to create a little bit more shape and definition, rather than just having lots of square angular roads and sidings, etc. But we're going to start ripping up all of this ground here so that we can create a nice sort of drive-in area, and then have obviously clean, smooth ground underneath all the sheds and storage mods that we're going to be putting in for our beet storage area over here. So as we're ripping up this section here, this is where some of our storage is going to go on this side. Just some updates for you on what's coming up on the channel in the next month or two. Obviously farming content is slowing down a little bit at the moment. You know, Big Bud Farm is still running. Obviously you're watching Big Bud Farm right now, and I have no immediate plans to close this farm down. This is going to run for at least until we have fields 2 and 4 owned as well, so that we've been able to buy the entire map through legitimate hard mode solo play with no money mods or anything like that. It's definitely been, the goal from day one was to be able to own everything on this farm completely legitimately on the hardest settings. We have American Outback as well. That is going to be replaced once the Valley the Old Farm comes out from Black Sheep Modding. We're looking at probably late October, sometime in November, kind of release window for that map. So a little while left on American Outback. And Fent Farm is coming to a close. That is going to be ending on Friday, this Friday coming. That is the final episode of Fent Farm, or at least the final episode of Series 1. Obviously, we will be resurrecting Fent Farm for a second season and a second season of Massey Manor once the West Coast comes out. We don't know exactly when that's going to be right now. We do know that Bullet Bill has been having quite a few different issues popping up with testing to get it onto consoles. So he's actually got some help now from Giants themselves, trying to decode some of these bugs and errors, find out exactly what's causing them, and get them fixed nice and quickly so that we can get that map sort of back through into testing and released as soon as possible. So we just have to play a waiting game on that one. And I will probably have a week or so to acclimatise myself to the map and just plan out some of those initial stages before we actually get that farm up and running, or both of those farms up and running. So there'll be a small window between Fent Farm going, into, being ended, and then season 2 of both Fent Farm and Massey Manor kicking in. There'll be a small window of a week or two before we start seeing new stuff. Hopefully, it depends how quickly that we get the West Coast through testing. I do also want to take a look at Farming Legend, which is currently in testing. I'm hoping that that gets through testing nice and quickly. I'm very curious to take a really good look at that map and see whether or not that's one I'm going to be running a series on. From the initial looks of it, I think I'll probably run some kind of series on that farm. And then in November we have the expansion, the Platinum expansion coming out. So we're going to have all new content there as well, a brand new map, new equipment, and we will no doubt do a small Let's Play series on that farm just to explore the new equipment and the new map itself. I don't know how long that one will particularly run for, but it does make for quite a lot of different farms all potentially running at exactly the same time. And on top of that, in October 20th will be the launch date for Real Farm Sim, and I am going to be picking up a copy. I've been thinking about whether I was going to wait a little while or pick it up at launch, and I am probably going to pick it up at launch. That is the way I'm leaning right now. So we will have Real Farm Sim content coming to the channel as well. So it's going to be very, very crowded on the channel in terms of farming playthroughs and farming footage. Lots and lots of stuff for you guys to watch. I'm going to try and figure out how I'm going to squeeze all of that into a brand new sort of schedule come around October, November time. Definitely some thinking and some head scratching going to have to go on with that one. And it's possible that I may have to sort of put Big Bud Farm on hold for a little while, give it a little sort of mid-season break, and then come back for the second half of the run, a little bit later on in down the line. We'll see how that goes, and we'll see. I don't want to have too many farms running all at the same time, because it then just becomes a little bit difficult to kind of keep track with what's going on where, and it also becomes a little bit more difficult to manage time effectively for recording and editing and so on and so forth as well. So yeah, as I say, plenty of farming content still to come on the channel over the next couple of months. We may have a couple of weeks where we only have the 2 farms running, but hopefully it will only be just a couple of weeks, and then we will sort of explode back into action with a bang, with 2 more farms going live on the West Coast, and then around late October, sometime in November, we're going to have the Platinum expansion, we're going to have Real Farm Sim, and we're going to have a replacement for American Outback with the Valley the Old Farm as well. So a lot of stuff definitely coming, and maybe Farming Legend map being added into the mix there as well. So in the time that it's taken me to kind of plough that field and make it ready for sort of the next stage, sort of cultivating and shaping, you can see just how little progress we've made on field 1. We've done, what, 3 passes, I think. 2 going up, 1 going down the middle, and still an awful long way to go. You can't even see the end of the field. I mean, that's partly because of the fog, but A lot of field still to go here with this weeder. So this is going to keep going all the way through. I don't think we'll even finish this field before we've finished down by small farm. But just wanted to give you kind of an indication of how long it's going to take for this weeder to do what it needs to do. And one other change I've made to the farm, as you can see as well, is to add in the chips and forage silo to our cowshed area. So I've got this great big beast of a silo here. There's our downspout, and then our sort of tip-in area is just here. These bales will end up probably getting shredded and then just tipped into this area just here. But it made sense, seeing as we have this now, a 500,000 litre capacity. It made sense to have one of these right opposite our cows, because they're going to need straw, they're going to need grass, they're going to need silage, they're going to need hay. All of those things can be stored in here. The wood chips, well, it's not really an issue of storing wood chips in here, but everything else that this thing can hold, we will be storing inside it. And our cows are actually making some decent money. I've just had to put some extra, hay bales in here to give them a little bit more feed, because they keep eating through it really, really quickly. They're only at, 62, 63% productivity right now, but they are still clearing a large amount of money, and they're paying for a really, really big chunk of our daily expenses right now. So once we get these things up to 100% productivity, once we add in some straw and some TMR, hopefully these things will actually make us a profit rather than just a break even on our daily expenses. I'm expecting we'll actually make money once all of our expenses go out at midnight and our milk is sold. So I'm going to take the FIATAGRI back to the shop, not because I need to get rid of it, but because there are a couple of other pieces of equipment that I'm also going to need. So let's drop off the plough just there. Let's drive this back up onto the truck. We'll take the truck back to the store, because it's obviously a lot quicker. And we need to go and pick up a cultivator, and we need to go and pick up a roller. So we'll drop that off there. Let's raise the ramps. Let's try and back in here if we can. Just enough. There we go. And now we can actually pull out this way and make our way over to the store. And we have arrived. So let's get the ramps down. While that's doing that, let's lease what we need. So we need to lease a roller. It doesn't matter really on the colour, because we're only leasing it. And we also need a small cultivator as well. And I'm going to use the Massey cultivator for this, just because it's nice and compact, doesn't need huge power, and it's 5 meters, so might as well. So again, we're going to lease one of those like so. Right, let's jump in the Agri. Now, even though there is no sort of mounting harness on the front, you can still attach some equipment to it, and I'm hoping I can actually pick up the roller. You can't interact with stuff, so that because there's no mountable harness, you can't raise or lower anything, so it will sort of stick up there. But just as a way of picking something up and transporting it, I have no issues sort of mounting it on the front like that, and then obviously detaching it and then using it when I need to at the back. But hopefully, there we go. Yes, I can connect and just lift the roller like that, even though it's non-operational. It can't be raised or lowered, despite the graphic. That's as much movement as we get. It's hardly anything at all, and that's just because that's the weight sort of movement for the weight bracket, rather than sort of an actual proper harness. But we'll fold up the cultivator like that, and we'll back ourselves up onto the trailer. There we go. Engine off. Oops. There we go. And as you can see, we've got plenty of clearance at the front and back on our trailer there. So let's get this stuff back down to the store. And even driving, sorry, not back to the store, back down to the field that we're working on, and even driving down here at 62 miles an hour, it's still quite a long stretch. So you can imagine why I didn't want to do this without the truck, because even at 62 miles an hour, it's still going to take me a little while to get there. You can imagine how slow it would be at 9 miles an hour in that little tract agri there. And there we go. Time to get cultivating, clean this soil up a bit so we can start dropping in some storage sheds on one side. Get this side kind of figured out and planned. Clean up the edges around the back and the sides. And then once that is done, we can then turn our attention to the opposite side and put in the storage mods on that side as well. Okay, so we have cultivated quite a nice section of ground here, so it's time to start dropping in some placeables. So I'm going to be using these, the mountain hall sheds, for the main sort of bulk of our equipment. And I have already done a sort of a size test by placing one of these over the top of my equipment from Holmer, so it will fit. This is the important thing, it will actually fit going in from these doors here at the front, and just about fit going in at the back without any real major issue. So I'm going to start placing some sheds in here. I'm going to put one in just here. I want to have a little bit of turning room available just there, obviously, because there's a side door that I might want to use there as well. So we're going to drop that one in, I think, just there, like so. And there we go, we have our first shed. And if I open the door up, you can see we've got this lovely ground inside. Let's get a light on without, if I can, without messing around with a chainsaw. Oh, there we go, it was circle, wasn't it, to use the lights. So there we go, there's our first shed. Placed just there. Let's get these doors open as well. And this is going to be our main storage bay for our vehicles. So this is where our Terra Variant and Terra DOS are going to live. The Terra DOS is definitely going to live here. We might use a side door to actually back the trailer in. I'm not entirely sure yet how I'm going to do that with the header. But we also have space in here for the Terra Variant and some of its attachments as well. So the hook attachment, for example, which is currently fitted, and then the beat auger attachment, and maybe a couple of other attachments that we might pick up for it. So here's our first main storage shed. Let's get a little bit more sort of stuff put in over here as well. So I wouldn't mind a second hall if possible. What have we got on this one in terms of doors? That's one on either side, so that's no real use to us. This one, though, could be very useful. This one is side door and a front door. I think this one could actually be probably a little bit more useful. I'm going to stick this one over here, like so. I just need to, before I do that, what I want to do is make sure that I've got a clean, smooth line to place on. So I'm going to quickly grab the roller. I'm going to roll a clean line along the back of our first shed, so that I've got a guideline of where exactly to place the back of the next shed. So let's just drop that like that. Let's grab the roller, make sure I'm facing the right way. I am good. And this is potentially going to be a little tricky because it's quite twitchy at low speed, this thing, so I don't want to run the risk of eating up more than I need to with the pathway. Well, I want to try and get right up to the edge, and I think it's entirely possible I might actually place this a little bit too far forward, so I may have to take this one out a bit. In fact, yeah, I'm going to have to do that. So let's take that shed out completely. Scroll through all of our equipment. You can see we've got an awful lot of equipment on this farm here. Oh, there it was, just whizzed past it. Let's just get rid of this. I mean, they're nice and cheap, so I can afford to kind of mess around a little bit like this. If they were more expensive, then I probably would be a little bit more careful, but let's clean up this edge here. Get a nice, smooth edge, so we know exactly where we can place to. And once we've kind of, put in the sheds and stuff in the locations that we want, we're going to decorate the area a little bit as well. We'll take some of the pathway out, so it's just not a huge solid block of ground. We'll add a little bit of life into it. We'll put some trees and stuff in place as well, just to add a little bit more life to the area. And I'm just going to have to quickly redo that slight little section just there, but that's fine. Just trying to get our guideline in around the back here to start with, like so. Just that last little bit sticking out at the end. I'll have to spin around and do it from the other way. There we go. So we've just got that little tiny piece there that needs to be reploughed and then recultivated, but apart from that, I'm pretty happy with that nice, clean, smooth line for us to work on. Okay, and what I'm going to try and do is be a little bit clever here. You can see I've actually got the cultivator hooked up behind the plough. I'm going to see if I can do both bits in the same go. So there we go. Let's see if I can actually pull this off. Definitely pulling a little bit slower now. Ah, there we go. How's about that? How's that for creative and ingenuitive? Beautiful. So, just need to deal with that little section just there. That was obviously a potential risk of this little method, but it worked. The basic plan worked, so that's good to see. Let's just drop that there, spin around, drop that there. So that's something I might actually pay attention to in the future. I might actually combine both jobs like that going forward, create and cultivate at exactly the same time. That's definitely something I hadn't considered before, but I may well try on a future Let's Play. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. So here we go. This is basically what we have set up so far. So we've got a nice clear area here, which I may do something with, maybe put in a couple of seed tanks or fertilizer tanks or something in there, not entirely sure yet. We have this Fowler equipment shed here, which I absolutely love this shed. It's a really nice small shed, not particularly long in sort of in vehicle bay size, but really nice little shed with lighting, as you can see there. So I really do like this little shed. And then we have the first of our two Mountain Halls package sheds here. So we have this one here. Let's just get that door closed. And as you can see, I've got full movement space there between the door and the shed itself. And then running through here, this is where we have our second one. This is actually going to be the home, I think, for our Terra variant. Sorry, our Terrados in here. So we'll park it in lengthways along here, and then we can use this one for side access for extra equipment like the header trailer and so on and so forth. Maybe even a second Terrados. You never know. There is something else that I want to add as well, and that's a Terra Felis at some point in the future. So we can have this big shed here for that. That one there can be our Terra variant storage shed with a couple of maybe 2 different Terra variants, our different sort of auger attachments and so on and so forth. And then anything else that we might need can obviously go in there as well. So we have our vehicle and equipment storage all nicely laid out for us now. So now we just need to work on the other side and put in our root crop storage mods. Okay, so I've cultivated and ploughed and cultivated the field, as you can see, and I've put in this strip here, and this is a guide strip. So the first thing I need to do is actually withdraw some money from my loan, because I need to put in quite a few storage mods. Each one will only hold 300,000 litres, and they're going to fill up really quickly. So we're going to put in 3 or 4 of those as a sort of a starting measure. I don't really want to spend everything, but we'll certainly spend a good chunk of this. So let's go back into placeables. Let's go to our root crop storage mod. And now you can see I've got a guideline here along the back, so I can see where it is I actually need to place these and try and keep them in a straight line. So initially I want to have the first one needs to have a nice sort of turning radius, and we're going to have the pathway coming behind it. So that's why you can see the end strip there. That's where the pathway is going to sort of start on the left, and then the gap that we've got here, I'm going to replough that and then recultivate it and turn that back into road again. So if I place one of the mods just there, like that, and now place the next one kind of next to it. How close can I get? Do they actually overlap? They do a little bit by the look of it. So this is where it's going to get a little bit trickier. I need to spin around like this, and this is why I wanted the guideline, you see, so that I can make sure that I'm putting them down straight, but also I can have the camera panned around this way so I can check for the overlap and leave just the faintest of gaps between them so they don't collide with each other. I think that should do the job, and let's put in one more, and again we want just the faintest of gaps. And there we go. So we have 3 of those in. We've got 100,000 left, and then over here what we could potentially do is we could actually turn this into a potato area as well. So we could even put in another shed over here at some point later, so we could do potatoes on this map as well, which means that we would have space for potato storage to come in over here. So we would need to again have a gap so that stuff can go behind and then drive out around. So we'll be looking at maybe placing the first one here and then move in this way and in this way and then in there. So we've got space for a 4th beet hanger, so we'll drop that in. Again, looking for just the faintest of gaps. Nothing overly noticeable. That looks about right. And there we go. And we are inside the storage mod. So actually go inside, you can actually see, you know, the dog face logo here. All rights reserved. Do not duplicate or alter without permission of author. If you repost, credit author and use original link. Skin by Dogface. Nice little message sort of hiding inside the crop here. We are actually stuck inside this, so I'm going to need to jump out like so. You can see we're, what, halfway through this field, I think, maybe? Yeah, about halfway through this field, so we've still got an awful long way on this one to go before we can even move on and get stage 2 fertilisation put on our other fields as well. But here we go. We now have a nice row in a nice straight line like that of beet storage hangers. And how's that for placement? Just slightly different, you know, in terms of positioning, but pretty much spot on. You have to be really, really close to notice it, and we have that nice little gap, an ever so slight gap between the between each one, so that they don't collide with each other and overlap with each other. But there we go. We have our beet storage area, and we have our beet equipment area over here. So I think it's time to start bringing down some of the equipment. And there we have it. So we're going to keep hold of this equipment just for a little bit longer because we're not quite finished with this area yet, but we are unfortunately out of money. So I'm going to keep the plough and the cultivator there, the roller. Obviously we're going to keep the little FIATAGRI for a little bit later. This is where our Holmer Terra variant is. You can see we've got our auger beet tank just over there. The hook frame that I've been using at the for the wool is now up with the sheep, and the hook tray over there with our pallets mounted on it. And then in here we have our Terra variant. sorry, our pterodos. I keep getting these two names mixed up. Here's our pterodos, and we have the modded 12-meter header, along with the modded trailer to go with it as well, just so that we can get that extra little bit of width instead of using the standard 9-meter header that comes with this. And that is our little storage area. And then over there we have our 4 main sort of tanks, and then I did drop in 1 tree around the back just to get a kind of an idea of distance and what it would look like. And I'm probably going to line the area with some more trees down there again when I get some more money. So kind of a work in progress. It's not really finished just yet, but here is our beet storage area. I think it's a job well done. We've achieved what we wanted to achieve. Why can't I get this door to close? Because I'm pressing the wrong button, that's why. Let's turn that light off. There we go. And close that door. We'll say goodbye to our little pterodos there. And then do the same over here. We'll close up. And lights off there as well. So that's the end of the episode. So thanks for watching. I'm Jim Bob. In the next episode, we will continue to do a little bit more work on the farm. Maybe we'll have enough money to actually do this, depending on what contract work I can do in between now and the next episode. And we'll obviously be continuing to fertilise our crops to get them ready for the next harvest. Thanks for watching. I'm Jim Bob, and I will catch you all again very soon.